Hi everybody, this is Marilyn with MKR Creations and welcome back to my channel. If you have not been here before, I hope you will hit that subscribe button down there in the corner and subscribe to come back and see more of my videos. To those of you who have come to see me from Dina's channel of Crafty Crafts by Dina, welcome, and I'm so glad you are here. Today I'm going to be working on how to build an album. When I first started, my inspiration for building albums comes from Corrine of Corrine's Creations and Shelly Geigel. And those are two channels you really want to check out. They are excellent, excellent album creators, and I can only aspire to ever be as good as they are at doing it. But I've kind of combined their ways of doing albums to create my own. But one thing was I had to follow their measurements exactly step by step when I first started. And it's, and then I would have to look up other ways of making an album if I wanted to make a different size. So I've kind of come up with my own kind of recipe. Today I'm going to do an album that is going to be 6.5 by 6.5. Roughly, that's what the chipboard's going to be. By the time you cover it with the paper, it's going to be slightly larger than that. But I've done some math to show you and maybe hopefully help you when you're going to create your own album to figure out the measurements and stuff. Because some, you can do 8 by 10 albums. You can do just 7 by 7s, whatever works for you, whatever you think will work for you. So it's called a 6 by 6 mini album, but it actually comes out bigger than that. My decorative paper is actually 6 by 6, and I'm not going to do the decorating in this part, but I just want to show you, like if you have a 6 by 6 pad of paper, to cut yourself down on cutting time, you can make an album that the decorative papers are 6 by 6, and all you have to do is take one page out of that 6 by 6 paper tablet and save yourself some time with cutting and such for covering those pages. So that's what size the decorative paper is for this type album. I use 110-pound paper to make the pages so that they are more durable when they turn back and forth, and it can take some wear and tear. My front and back covers, I want them larger than the 6 by 6 paper. I want there to be enough room to protect those pages in there. So my front and back covers of chipboard, and I use a heavy medium weight chipboard because cereal box chipboard does not work for a project like this. And I honestly don't use cereal box chipboard for any of my projects. I want the things I make to be durable. So it's 6.5 by 6.5, and you need 2 of those, one for the front and one for the back cover. And then we need a spine. And the spine will kind of depend on how many pages you want to put in your album. I'm putting 4 pages in, and each page has a 1/2 inch gusset. So I am making my spine 2.5 by 6.5 so that I have room for a 1/2 inch gusset by each page. And that kind of gives you room to add pockets and other decorative elements. I've used some of the metal Tim Holtz pieces. I've glued those into albums. They really add a nice element to it, and if you want to use flowers that have dimension to them, it helps protect those too, so they're not getting smushed so much. And then I use Tyvek, and that is something I learned from those channels, and that helps that I have 2 pieces that are 2 by 6, and they will go on both sides of the spine to help so that your paper that you are putting in there does not crack when you open and close your book. So then my pages out of the 110 are going to be 6 1/4 by 6 3/4, and they are scored on this long, on the 6 3/4 side. You're going to score a 1/2 inch going this way. That's what we're going to fold, and that will be our gusset in our album. You're also going to need 2 sheets of paper, and I am just using 2 8.5 by 11s. That's your normal size. That will give us enough to fold over and to cover the outside of our album. And we're also going to need another piece to cover the inside of our album. Also, besides that, we are going to need an album spacer. I made this to use in my albums. It is 2 chipboards put together with a serial weight chipboard in the middle. So it just gives a little more so that when you're bending your pages, you're not pulling on the paper too much. It's giving it room to move, and you're not going to crack your paper, and you're not going to have binding when you open and close your album. Excuse my voice. I am still fighting this sinus infection, so I'm a little froggy. You're going to need some scissors. I use a, this is actually a Cricut pick tool. I use that to take off the double-sided tape. A pencil, a bone folder, the album spacer, like I said. I also use score tape, and I do use the Score brand of tape. It's by Sookwang. It's made in Korea. Best double-sided tape I've ever found. I used a cheaper off-brand double-sided tape and when I first started, and things fell apart. Cannot have things falling apart when you're building an album. You want this to last. And also I may be using some art glitter glue. In fact, I will be probably using some art glitter glue. When you use score tape, when you put it down, it's down. You do not have any room for any play whatsoever. It's stuck. So, and the covers that we put on the outside of the album are actually 65-pound. If we tried to fold 110-pound paper around the chipboard, it would probably crack. It's very heavy weight. And this is what's left from, I have 110-pound in the 8.5 by 11. I saved these pieces. You could use these for smaller albums. I also use these to cut pockets for in my albums. But what I'm going to show you tonight is just very basic, no pockets, no nothing in them. And we'll talk a little bit at the end if we have time about adding pockets, adding fold-out pages. Those are things you can do. But this is just going to be very basic, just 4 pages, no fold-outs, no pockets. Those would be something I would go over in the more detailed when I'm doing decorating. So just going to build a basic album tonight. So let's get started here. So the first thing I like to do when I'm building my album is take 2 of my pieces of paper, the ones that are going to cover the album, and I am going to put score tape down on one, and I'm going to put them together to make them one long piece because it takes that much paper to cover the album. So we're going to just set this down and put it on the very, very edge. Okay. And after that is done, we want to take our bone folder and we want to burnish this down really well. Then what I like to do, since I have a crooked eye, I like to use a straight edge like my scoreboard here to put the 2 pieces together so that they are straight. And you just want to line the other piece up so that they are straight together, just the 1/2 inch area covered. Okay. And then we want to burnish that together. Okay, and the next thing I do, since I, like I said, have a crooked eye, is I draw a straight line. And I go from one side to the other. And this is about 1 inch wide. Gives me enough to fold over neatly onto my album. Oops. Keep it straight there. All right. So that helps me keep things straight on the paper. All right. So now I'm going to take my Tyvek. I'm going to put some tape on each side of this. And I bought this Tyvek, I bought a package of it from Amazon. Some people get Tyvek envelopes in the mail. I don't get those. So I just bought this, and I bought it a couple of years ago. It has quite a bit of Tyvek in it. You don't use a lot for each project, so it really isn't very costly. But if you have access to the envelopes that are made out of the Tyvek, by all means, recycle those. Okay, so we're going to put this on each side of our spine before we put our spine down so that we have this in place. And you want to get it as straight as you possibly can. And burnish it down so it stays stuck. And again with this one. All right. And then we're going to take our art glitter glue. And we're going to apply it on here. And again, your art glitter glue, little goes a long ways. You don't want so much glue that you buckle your paper. It comes with, you can buy a fine tip to put on it, which is what I am using. It holds good and secure. It dries quick, so it doesn't slow down your project. And it puts on a thin enough layer that it does not buckle your paper at all. All right, we're gonna center that over where we hooked our binding together and along the line. And then press it down. Been having some trouble with this tip not wanting to spit out glue very easily. And you never want to leave your art glitter glue open because it will dry on you very quick. Okay, and then take off your double-sided tape. Get one of your binding boards. Well, I should say one of your cover boards. And we're going to put art glitter glue on this. And I'm still trying to decide on giveaway for the 200 subscriber giveaway. You do have to be subscribed to my channel to take part in that. And so far the consensus on that is a lot of people are asking for Happy Planner stuff, which I am glad to share with you because it's an awesome planner. I love it. And it gives you a chance to be creative even if you don't have time for a lot of crafts. So now we're going to put the spacer down here. We're going to take this and we're going to go up against the spacer and down along the line. Spacer also helps me keep straight lines between my two pieces of cards or chipboard because, yeah, I'd be crooked if I didn't do that. It would be a hot mess. And this is my other cover. And I did, mark these as back cover, front cover when I cut them out. And that was basically just for filming purposes. It doesn't matter which one's the front or the back. They're both the same size, so that won't be an issue. And the paper we're going down on is not directional paper. So that's not an issue. So put our spacer there again. Up tight against it and down on our line. All right. So we're just gonna gently burnish this with our bone folder. Be careful that you don't scratch your paper, especially if right now we're using a white paper that we're gonna cover. But if we were using a decorative paper for the outer sides here, you would want to be very careful not to scratch that. So the next thing we're going to do is just come along the edge here and we're going to draw a line because we do not need all that paper on the edge, and we'll be cutting that off with our scissors. Okay, then next we are going to cut our sides here. You want to leave about 1/8 of an inch paper there on the corner so that you can push this in and your chipboard will be covered and won't be sticking out. Okay. Throw that away and get it out of our way. Okay. Then you just want to gently start bringing and folding your paper so that it gets used to the idea of folding. And you want to do that on all 4 sides. All right. Then we're going to take our 1/2 inch tape and we're going to go around each of the edges here. Right up to the edge of the paper. All right, and then you do that on all four sides. Then we're going to burnish that down. And again, you just kind of want to fold to make sure everything's going to come together. Paper has memory, which I did not know until I started crafting. And it has memory. And so you want to start giving it a new memory that you don't want it straight, but you want it to bend. So you're going to start in the middle, bring it up, and fold it over. And then smooth it down both ways. And then you're going to take your bone folder, you're going to burnish that down. Okay, and then you're going to do the same on the other long side. You do your long sides first. Bring it up. And push it down. And again, you're going to take your bone folder and burnish it down. Just like you do when you're folding your paper. And just gently go along the edge like that. Okay. Now for the corner sides, you're going to push in, and you can use your bone folder to push in. You can use your fingernail, whatever works for you, but you want to push that corner in so that it makes not quite such a sharp corner, but it covers that chipboard. And then you're going to take your double-sided tape off, and you're going to bring it up and over. And again, take your bone folder, smooth out any edges, and you want to do that on both sides. Push your corners in. They do make a handy tool that you can use for cutting this corner, but I just can't see paying the money for that right now. Maybe someday I'll have the money to buy something like that, but all right. So that is the start. Now let's see if this is going to be long enough. It's not. So we're going to have to put two of these together. That's the wrong. Different white paper has different colors. The Nina Bright Whites are really, really white, but I am planning to use a more of a vintage style off-white paper on this album when I do the decorating on it. So I don't want a bright white paper for covering it. So this one I'm just gonna use my board here because it does have grid marks on it, so that will help me keep things straight. Okay, so now we have to measure out how far on this we want our paper to go. So we want to go to about here and about here lengthwise, and we want to line these up so that this is in the middle. And then Let's see, that's not going to work. All right, and I'm going to get that cut here. And I've had people ask, actually my niece asked for me to do a tour of my craft room. And let me tell you, the last thing you really want is a tour of my craft room. It is nothing compared to, I've seen some beautiful craft rooms on the internet, on YouTube. Mine is a hot mess. And if it is perfectly done and clean, means I haven't been creating. So I'm going to go up just a hair more here and make a mark of where, yeah, I think that will work. I just want to have a little border around it all to keep it covered, or to cover that so it doesn't stick out at the end. And I'm using a T-square ruler to draw my lines. I picked this up when I was finishing my degree in college. Here, I graduated 2010 with that, and I took an art class. That was one of the things we had to do, was take an art class. And so we had to have some drawing supplies, and that was in some of the drawing supplies I bought. And I tell you, I use it all the time for crafting. Okay, let's see if this is going to work. Voila. It is. How awesome is that? All right, so now we're going to take our tape and the thing I worry the most about is my center spine. When I fold my papers up with the other paper on top, when I fold my edges up on my book, I don't want it crinkling and wrinkling. I want it nice and smooth. So the one thing I am sure to do is put plenty of score tape there to hold things down, because you just want it to look professional. You want, I mean, handmade, there's always a chance for a little error there because we're human, but I want it to look like, I don't know, I'm kind of a perfectionist, so I want it as perfect as possible, if that makes sense. But, you know, there's always, when you hand make stuff, there's always a little variation because it's the human factor. Okay, I'm going to burnish that down. And now I'm going to go all the way around this with score tape also. So get that out of the way. And you want to go around all your edges, right up to the edge. You don't want this lifting off of your inner album. I'm sorry, my voice is just, it's getting worse as we go here. Okay. So everything's burnished down. Next thing we're going to do is take our tape up. And also take it up off of our lining page here. I'm sorry, I know I'm getting out of camera here a little bit, but things are a bit bigger than my normal. Okay, and once you have that up, you put it off to the side. Try not to touch the score tape with your hands, because that will ruin the stickiness. It won't be as sticky. Okay, and then we're going to take some art glitter glue. And this is the last step right before you put that down, because if I would have taken this off and then put glitter glue on, by the time I got the covering off that other, it would have been dry, and then you'd have all these weird ridges. I'm just putting some glue in between where the tape is here to help things stick a little better, and over here just to keep things sticking better. All right. And this sticky side down. Line it up the best you can. And place it down. And then you're going to take your bone folder and you're going to burnish that tape down. Burnish the tape down on all the sides. Okay, and then you're going to gently look for where your crease is. Keep your bone folder in there to bend up your album. And do the same over here. Okay. And so that's the beginning. Now we just need to put the pages inside. So I'm going to set this off to the side. Grab your pages that you've already got scored. Excuse me, I need a sip here. Okay, and you want to just take and fold those over and use your bone folder to make a nice, good crease there. And you want to do that with all 4 pages. Okay, and I like to glue my pages in. Now, if you need to do a line to keep these straight, you certainly can do that. I actually looks okay. I'm not gonna do that. I think I'm gonna be able to keep this fairly straight. But if you need to draw a line, you can. So I'm gonna use glue on this because that gives me the capability of moving things around a little bit for a little while. Score tape is very strong tape. It touches down. It picks up stuff when you pick it up. It takes the paper. It takes the paper you're on, and it just... Okay. All right, and you want to make sure that you have that, you want tape or glue all over there so that it will stay down. You don't want any of these corners lifting up. All right. And then you take the next one and you're going to line it up with the one before it. And this is what gives you your 1/2 inch gusset here. Okay, what's going on here? Okay. And then our next one. Then our last one. And sorry if my head's getting in there, trying to get these lined up without having them crooked or anything. It's hard to do if you're not right up there looking. So, excuse my head if I get in there. And then you have your 1/2 inch gusset here for that last gusset. So when I go through and make sure everything's well stuck. All seems to be. So that is a basic album. Now you're going to notice it does this when you first make them. And I usually just put something like a tape roll or something on there to hold it closed for now. Like I said, the paper has memory. It will get the memory that it should stay more closed. And I usually store at least overnight with that tape on there before I even start building the album. So that is how you build a basic album. And as I said, you can change your measurements for whatever size you want. As I showed you, I just had the 6x6. I like 1/8 of an inch around that. So I added 1/4 inch to my side and my width and my height. And then I wanted at least 1/8 of an inch protection around all the sides. So I did my measurements according to that, worked it out on paper before I actually start cutting or building the album. If you like this video, I hope you'll give it a thumbs up and help my channel grow. If you'd like to come back and see more of my videos, please hit that subscribe button, and I will see you next time. Happy crafting, everyone.